Tell me what you do at Helping Up Missions when you're there.
Okay, my particular role now, when I went there originally, it went to be the spiritual life director, which meant I was going to lead virtually all the training, all the classes, and it was a biblical focus. It was clearly a biblical focus, and a 12-step focus, because I believe the 12 steps are based on biblical principles. So if I'm going to teach the Bible to a bunch of addicts, I make it very clear how the 12 steps in the Bible fit together. So that was my role, and I am still the main teacher for the guys, all the guys who come into the program still, and that's really why I'm there, because that's the man that God's called me to be, stuff to do. My title now is deputy director, so I spend half the day teaching 4 classes, and then the rest of the day administrating with meetings and counseling with guys, but really it's all about teaching.
Is it voluntary? Each person that comes to the program is expected to go to the class?
Yes, it's part of the requirements. It's a zero tolerance program, and so you can't use, and then there's certain things we expect you to do or not do. Now, we don't care, we don't care is not the right word. You do not have to sign a statement of faith to get into our program.
Right. Same here.
Yeah, so we have Muslims and Jews and agnostics and atheists, and you're all welcome. We're glad to have you. We accept you like you are, but we also expect you to accept us like we are. And since 1885, we've been doing this Jesus message, and we're not changing it.
Amen.
So if you want to be here, we are glad to have you, and we will respect that you may not see it like we see it,
right?
But you will have to hear it and participate on an appropriate level with it, and it works very well. And I'll have to say that I have Muslim guys that I'm not sure. I'm not sure that they're still really Muslims. You know, they'll still say they are and think they are, but you hear them talking about God and even Jesus. And it's just a very exciting journey, and Jewish guys as well, and agnostics and atheists.
Yeah.
When God shows up, and they can see it.
You know, and I'm the same way, but you know, I know when you experience Jesus, there's no more powerful. There's nothing on this earth, and I've tried everything.
You have,
and I thank God He saved me from where I was. I surrendered, and so when you have been experienced that, and you know it works. It's hard to go anywhere else, and it's not against any other religion or anything. It's just that He showed me firsthand. He grabbed me by the hand, and you have a relationship with a God that's alive. It's hard to believe if you don't know Him that He's a living God, but it is true. And you know, helping people find freedom, you need a living God walking with you in this world if you're going to make it. It's a tough place. It's very discouraging if you don't have that with you. So anyway, I just want to say, you know, it's hard not to or bend from any direction but Jesus, because that we know it works.
And if they're hurting, and that's why they're at our place, they're looking for something.
Yeah.
So it would actually be criminal to not make it as clear as we can make it. That this is what's working for me, and if what's not working for you is that way, why don't you try something else?
Yeah. Now, if you were to say, if I was going to ask you, what is the difference of a man that's successful and not at your place? Because I've had to ask a couple guys to leave, and you know, it breaks my heart because I know what they could be, or where, you know, and they're just not ready, or they need to hit a bottom place more than where they are before they're open to hear there could be something different. So.
And you're right. And I, you know, as far as where a guy finally reaches bottom, sometimes I think they did, and then they relapse and it gets worse, and I see them again later. So I tell you what I call the 3 key character qualities and spiritual components that I think makes it work for a guy. It actually comes from a quote from the NA Basic Text, and it's a rather famous quote. And here's what it says: "There's one thing more than anything else that will defeat us in our recovery." So whatever it is, it's huge. One thing more than anything else. It's an attitude. It's not what we do, it's how we think. It's an attitude of indifference or intolerance. Indifference is no, I won't. Indifference is I don't care, sorry. Indifference is I don't care. Intolerance is no, I won't. One thing more than anything else that will defeat us in our recovery. It's an attitude of indifference or intolerance towards spiritual principles. 3 of these spiritual principles that are indispensable are honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. With these, we're well on our way in recovery. And what happened was, I was teaching guys how to surrender and how to turn it over to the Lord, and all kinds of phrases. And I learned that concept of honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought, if I could be that way with God, honest, open, and willing with God all the time, I'd fulfill every biblical command I was ever supposed to do. Because I'd be honest about where I really am, open to what He's saying to me through people, places, and things, and willing to do what I understand is the next right thing. I couldn't lose. Well, of course, I'm imperfect at it still, but I think an attitude of being honest with God about where I really am in my head and my heart today, open to how He's talking to me today through people, places, and things, and willing to do what I understand is the next right thing. I think that's the attitude that helps a guy succeed in recovery. And so that's sort of that's a mantra really that I use over and over and over again with guys, and it really does work. And of course, I've tried to incorporate it into my own spiritual walk, and I think it's been really empowering for me.